There is some serious charring and burn. My gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Oh no. Hey, what's up my friends? Welcome back to my kitchen. Kind of. This is my outdoor kitchen. In this video, we're looking at the Bighorn infrared gas grill. The good people at Bighorn sent me this gas grill to get my honest opinion and experience of using this grill. One of the reasons I'm excited to test it out is because of the enormous claims that they make about this grill. The one I was most interested in is you can actually cook a steak restaurant style with that beautiful crust on the outside in 5 minutes or less. Now, I absolutely love steak, and I've gotten pretty good at getting that perfect medium rare cook on it with that beautiful crunchy crust on the outside. But the way that I currently do it, it takes me using both the oven and the stovetop, and it takes a hell of a lot longer than 5 minutes. So if this thing can actually live up to those claims, I'm gonna be pretty impressed. All right, we're gonna get to cooking in just 1 minute, I promise. But first, I just wanna go over the grill itself, what comes with it, and how to use it. The entire grill is made of stainless steel, which is important because they claim that this grill can get up to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. It does run off of propane gas. It does come with a detailed user manual to show you exactly how to assemble and use all of the accessories. It doesn't, however, come with any kind of recipe book, which I thought was really interesting. I don't even know how to use this thing. There's no temperature guides, there's no rack height guides. It's basically a, figure it out yourself kind of situation, which I'm typically okay with, but to waste a good ribeye is like, really sad to me. So I'm gonna try really hard to get a good cook out of this thing very first. It's just gonna require some close attention and some intuitive action around the steak, the height of the rack, and the temperature on the stove. The unit itself is 16 inches wide, 14.5 inches high, and all included about 18 inches deep. You have the temperature control and ignition knob back here on the back of the unit. It takes a AAA battery on the back side of the igniter. In order to ignite it, you just simply push it down, move it over. You can hear the clicking from the igniter. As far as temperature control, you just have two indicators. You have a low indicator and a high indicator, and anything in between is up to your discretion. All right, let's talk about accessories that come with the grill. You have this front table that attaches to these little screws on the front side of the grill. This is to protect whatever surface is in front of the oven. I currently have this sitting on a wood table. I'm really interested to see and make sure that it doesn't do any damage to the table, and I'll let you know if there is any. One of the things that struck me as really cool about this grill is that all of the accessories come out of the oven because inevitably this oven is gonna get very greasy if you're cooking steak or chicken. So these are your grill rack tracks. They come out of the oven or the grill very easily so that you can pop them into the dishwasher and get them nice and clean. In order to install them into the oven, you just locate the screws that are inside the oven, put them on that screw, and push down. All right, next we have the drip tray and heat reflector. So this is the drip tray here, and then we have the heat reflector. You just simply place the heat reflector in the drip tray, and then the drip tray goes in the bottom of the grill. Next, it comes with two grills. These are very heavy duty stainless steel, and all we do is take the grill and just slide it into one of the grill slots, just like that. Now, it also comes with a grill retriever, which is this tool here that also has a nice bottle opener on the backside. There's a couple of slots, and you just use this tool to pull the grill out. And then finally, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the pizza stone that comes with this grill. To get it in there nice and hot and then fire cook a pizza on this thing is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna test that in this video as well. All right, my friends, that's it for accessories and operation. Let's get cooking. And we're gonna light this thing for the first time. It says when you light it, once it goes, to hold it for 5 seconds to make sure that it stays lit. All right, so I've had this oven on for the first time for about 4 minutes now. You can see some of the exhaust coming up off of it. It does have a little bit of like a factory smell to it, which is exactly why anytime I get any kitchen appliance, I run it at its highest temperature for at least 10 minutes, because it's inevitable that through shipping and manufacturing, it just picks up some things. So I wanna purify all of that as much as possible. All right, so I've got a really nice slice of ribeye steak here, some good marbling, great color. Now we're gonna take this steak to 130 degrees because 135 is medium rare internally, and I know that it's gonna continue to cook just a little bit outside of the oven. So here's how I prepare my steak for maximum flavor and that beautiful external crust that we absolutely love. I take a paper towel and I just dab it. I wanna dry off the piece of meat as much as possible. Next, I do just a little bit of fork tenderizing. I don't wanna overdo it. I'm just basically making some holes that tenderize and then also allow the salt to permeate into the middle of the piece of meat. Now next, this is controversial. If you don't like it this way, or if you like something different, that's no problem. You can tell us in the comments what you like to rub your steak with, but I don't like any rubs on my steak, especially a piece of ribeye like this. All I put on my steak is some nice coarse grain salt, and I'm very generous with it. So I'll take a few pinches and really cover the piece of steak in this salt, maybe even give it a little bit of rub. Then I flip it over and do the same thing on the back side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take our probe thermometer and just place it right into the middle of the steak, so I know that we're getting an accurate temperature reading. The other element of this is that we're going to time it and see how long it actually takes the steak to get up to temperature. So not only are we looking at the quality of the cook on the steak, but we're also looking to see if their claim of great steak in 5 minutes, restaurant style with a beautiful crust in 5 minutes, is true. Now again, a lot of this is guesswork. I'm gonna guess that we need this grill in about the middle position to get that medium rare cook to the middle, but also not burn the outside. I also can assume we're gonna need to flip this steak at about the halfway point. So I'm gonna watch temperature. As we reach about 80 to 90 degrees, I think that's about when we'll wanna flip this steak. All right, here we go. I'm gonna place the steak in the center. Hear that sizzle. We're gonna put it in and we're gonna start our timer. One of the keys of this design is that it's all heat down. So your infrared burner's up here at the top. What that's supposed to do is help keep from flare-ups, flame flare-ups from the grease that's obviously dripping down onto the heat distributing and drip tray. Now the outside, the top of the steak is browning very, very fast. We're at a minute and the internal temperature is 43 degrees still. So we haven't moved the internal temperature much, but the exterior of that steak, even some of the fat is starting to get some burn marks on it. Okay, we're at 2 minutes and 30 seconds and our internal temperature is just barely at 50 degrees. We're really starting to get some burning on the outside of this steak. I'm thinking we need to move it down just a level or two. So I'm gonna do that now. Now another thing that I will mention is the thickness of steak. Obviously this is a fairly thick cut of steak, but I'm doing this thickness because this is what I like. I find that I can typically get a better cook on a steak that's this thickness than I can on a much slimmer steak. So we're at 4 minutes and our internal temperature is at 66 degrees. And the top of this steak is looking very, very done. But I am gonna pull this out. One, so you can see exactly what the steak is looking like. And I think we need to flip this. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it and hopefully the internal temperature catches up. Notice the amount of drippings we have coming outside as I pulled that steak out. All right, so we just hit the 6 minute mark. And so what we've done is we've taken that 5 minute claim and basically disproved it. However, I gotta tell you, like I'm concerned that maybe I'm not using it right, or that I don't have the temperature right, or the rack height right, but I'm using my best intuitive knowledge because there's really no information given on how to use this thing in a way that would get you that 5 minute restaurant steak result. Now, one thing that I could say about that 5 minute claim, but I didn't see any text on the website or in the user's manual to back it up, is they may be wanting you to bring it up to temperature in the oven, which I've done before, a reverse sear. So bring it to temperature in the oven and then come out and get the sear on it inside this oven or inside this grill. But but that just wasn't clear to me. And by the way, I don't need my steak to cook in 5 minutes. I just want it to cook well and be as simple as possible. I'm a little bit concerned about this side getting burnt, so I'm gonna flip it again just to try to keep things as even as possible. But look at that. Look at all this burnt fat right here. Oh, maybe I shouldn't turn it. That one's maybe a little bit more done still than the other side. All right, we're at 12 minutes. Our internal temperature is 122, 124 now. We're getting really close to that 130. All right, my friends, we hit 130. I mean, look at this thing. I don't know what to say. It took us 13 minutes and 7 seconds to get there. I'm really concerned about the cook on this steak. My hope is that when we cut it into it, it's just like a really nice, juicy cook. But I gotta let you know, as we let it rest, I'm a bit skeptical. One other quick mention is that eventually my table did get very hot on each side of this table. This table is very hot to the touch. I don't think it did any damage to the surface, but I probably wouldn't do this on a wood table again. I would find some sort of ceramic, tile, concrete surface that I could use this oven on. All right, my friends, I've let this piece of steak sit for about 5 minutes. Now we're gonna cut into it and see how the actual cook is. I just wanna show you on the exterior that there is some serious charring and burn, especially over here on the fat. Now, the disappointing part of that is I like to feed some of the fat to my dog. Some of the pieces of fat I like to eat myself. This completely eliminates that possibility of snacking some of that fat, at least the ones that got super charred. So let's go ahead and cut into this. Take a look at the cook. It's a little bit more done than I would prefer. I could have pulled it probably a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit earlier than 130 degrees. Let's try it out. I will give it does have a very good crisp crust on the outside of this piece of steak. The steak is delicious. The cook is wrong. That would be my fault. But other than the char, it's flavorful, it's juicy, it's tender, it's absolutely delicious. One of the disappointing parts is, these really marbled pieces that are on the ends of the ribeye. They're usually my favorite. And unfortunately, because of the intensity of the heat, it's almost jerkied those parts of the steak. So they're really not great to eat at all. I've got mixed emotions about this because the middle of the steak is so good and the crust in most areas of the steak is so good, but the parts that it burnt, the parts that it annihilated are so bad. I was gonna move on to pizza, but I just can't shake this. I think there has to be a way to cook in this thing that if we're not trying to prove wrong the 5-minute promise, but we're just trying to get a good cook on this steak, there's gotta be a way to get a great cook on this steak. So what I've decided to do is I'm gonna cook another piece of ribeye. I'm gonna bring the tray, I'm gonna start with the tray a little bit lower, and I'm gonna actually bring the temperature of the grill down. My hope is that we can bring the steak to temperature, no matter what time it takes, without getting all of that charred, burnt fat around the edges of the steak. So I'm gonna get this piece prepped, we're gonna get it in the oven, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so the steak's in, timer started, and the temperature on the oven is set about in the middle between the low and the high. Okay, already this cook seems to be going a little bit better. However, we are getting some burnt spots on the top side of this steak. We're at almost 5 minutes, but our internal temperature is at 60 degrees. See, we are getting some pretty intensely burnt spots on this steak already. Oh, that crust is looking amazing. I will say, I think this cook is improving immensely over the last cook. All right, my friends, we're at 120 degrees internal temperature at 10 minutes and 30 seconds, so actually quicker than our last cook. Of course, we were going to 130. I'm gonna pull it now because in seconds, we're gonna be at 125, and I'm really excited at the way that this cook is looking. Maybe a little bit more burnt in areas than I would like, but nothing compared Nothing compared to the last cook. This is so much better. Somebody's waiting for something. What could it be? Trying to act like she's being inconspicuous, but we all know what she's up to. So let's go ahead and cut into this baby. Let's take a look at that. We got some nice pink coloring in the middle and some nice brown ring around the outside. Again, just a little bit more done than I would like. So I think the cook being off of medium rare just a little bit is more about me getting used to the grill than it is anything about the grill. And I'm just realizing that high of heat needs to be pulled probably just a little bit earlier. So let's get a piece of this. Let's take a look. Let's see what it tastes. I can feel the crust on both sides of the steak. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's incredibly tender and juicy. The crust on the exterior is fantastic. This is a killer piece of steak. Oh my gosh, I wish you could taste this. All right. Now let's cook some pizza. I've made a pretty simple pepperoni pizza here on some Trader Joe's pre-made crust. I use the pre-made crust in my videos because A, our family really likes it, but I also don't want there to be any variables in the recipe that I create. There's consistency with this crust that I can depend on so that when we're testing different equipment, I can actually see how the cook is and not wonder if it was me mixing the crust, the dough for the crust and making a mistake there. What I've been doing is I've been preheating the pizza stone inside the oven on medium heat, and I put the stone all the way to the top so I could get as much of that heat as possible and get it ready for the pizza to go in. I'm gonna take the pizza down many levels and I'm gonna keep the temperature on medium. We're also gonna measure how long I keep the pizza in. We'll pull the stone. And here's the trick of getting this pizza onto the stone in one movement. Oh no. Shoot, shoot. Ah. All right, guys, that was a big fail. I'm gonna see if I can rescue it, but I don't think I can. Oh no. Oh no. Well, that was a fail. Big fail. Well, I'm gonna make another pizza and see if we can't get it on the stone without having the right equipment. Okay, from the beginning of this channel, I've committed to transparency and what I don't know, and that I am learning to cook along with you. I do know some things, but don't know some things, and obviously made a huge mistake. I've made a disaster of the pizza stone, couldn't transfer the pizza over. I've got a different technique that I hope will work. I've got the pizza on my other pizza stone now. I have transferred pizza before without needing one of those, I don't even know what it's called, the big pizza thinger. And I'm hoping it'll work this time. So I've reheated the pizza stone. I've scraped it clean of all of the char and stuff from the other disaster. And we're gonna see what it's like. My attempt now is I put a bunch of cornmeal on this pizza stone. I'm gonna coat that pizza stone with cornmeal so that when we make the transfer, everything should slide pretty smoothly. So I'm gonna pull this out. You can see the mess I made of the pizza stone. I'm gonna put it right there. I'm gonna get a nice little layer of cornmeal on it just to help with the transition. That's burning really fast. Oh my goodness. Pretty smooth. All right, already I can see the pepperonis are getting really well done. I'm gonna turn this heat down just a little bit. All right, so we've been in for 1 minute and 40 seconds and the top is starting to look really done. The crust is bubbling up really nice. I don't think I can leave it in much longer. And I think without burning everything on top, that's about all we can do. So let's take a look at it. Probably needed to be rotated at some point because the crust looks way more done over here than it does over here. All right, what I'm noticing is that this thing takes some trial and error. My guess is you could get a pretty good pizza out of it, but you'd have to know, I mean, it's gonna take a few times of using it to figure it out, which is, I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me at all. Again, I'm doing an initial reaction video, just using this for the first time. So I'm sure there are things that I'm doing that aren't allowing us to get the result that we want. Now the crust raised pretty good, but it already feels pretty doughy. I'm just gonna open this up. And yeah, just as I thought. I mean, this whole thing is still very doughy in the middle. It's pure dough to the point where I don't really even wanna try it. I absolutely concede that this could be user error. My guess is that I should have started with the oven on completely low. That was one of the mistakes. We were at medium heat. Second, you definitely need a pizza tool to be able to turn the pizza so that it cooks a little bit more evenly. Third is, it could have used a little bit more time. Sure, my cheese was getting burnt on the top, and I was trying to avoid anything else getting burnt, but it definitely could have used a little bit more time to cook. I just want to take a bite off the crust and see how we are back here. Again, it's very doughy all the way through. All right, really quickly on cleanup. The nice thing is that this entire thing comes apart, so I can easily clean each individual separate piece. There's a lot of grease and spillage on this front table, so I can wipe that down with a paper towel very easily, and then we can take this and just throw it in the dishwasher. We can take the side racks out and we can clean those individually as well. Just throw them in the dishwasher. Those will get nice and clean. And then of course we have the drip tray. And I wanna show you this, all of this grease is from the steak. So then we can dump this grease out and then just throw this in the dishwasher. Super easy to clean. I can have this thing completely taken apart, and then we can wipe down the inside. Now, I wanna do this when it's still warm, but not hot, because that'll allow me to get some of this grease mopped up. And the drip tray covers the surface area really nice, so that there's really not a lot of grease down in the bottom of this thing. All right, my friends, so my final thoughts on this grill. I think it's actually a really cool tool, and I am gonna be cooking more steak inside of this. That steak, the second steak that I cooked was done so well. And I know that there's probably some little tweaks with temperature and height that I can figure out in order to cook the perfect steak. So it's a huge win on steak for me. The pizza, I was far from a good product. Now, again, I'm not saying it's the oven's fault, but it would be really nice to have some recipes and some experience that's put out by Bighorn that would teach you how to do a pizza in this oven. It might possibly be there, and if it is there, I will link it in the comments below. Finally, cleanup. I think cleanup is where this thing absolutely shines. The fact that you can take everything out to put it in the dishwasher and then put it back together is really, really cool. But ultimately, I'm so grateful to Bighorn for sending me this unit that I could try it out, that I could test it, and that they would allow me to give you my honest experience and opinion on it. And of course, if you have any corrections, if you've seen me do anything in this video that was wrong or something else that you would like me to try, let me know. If you have any questions that I can answer, and if you have any requests for other reviews, please put them in the comments so we can have a conversation about this grill. If you want to check this grill out for yourself, I've put a link in the description below that links you to the product. It is an affiliate link, so if you use that link to buy this or other things, throws me a couple bucks at no extra cost to you, helps support the channel. So thank you for that. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Happy cooking.